This is a special primetime edition. Have faith. Let it begin, and Endless Hope Inc. presents a new series entitled Personal Testimonies. Here is your host, Angel Santana, and special co-host, Clinton Knapp.
Welcome back to Have Faith, Let It Begin, Endless Hope Inc. This is another Wednesday edition. This is Chapter 1. We're still on Chapter 1, but now we're at Episode 3, and we're not going to spare no expense and make you wait. The last time we spoke to Clinton, he went to the hospital in Middletown that was formerly known as Horton Hospital. He waited 15 minutes, up to 45 minutes without being helped. He decided at that moment it was time to leave the hospital. He went to the next hospital, which was known as Arden Hill in Goshen. As soon as they found out that he had chest pains, he was on a stretcher. And he was ready to be taken care of. Clinton, the floor is yours.
How are we doing today? Absolutely, yeah. So, jumping right into it, yeah. So I walked in, like you said, I mentioned that I was having some chest pains, and immediately, again, like I said, I couldn't blink fast enough when I was in the back, and I had more doctors and nurses around me than I had ever seen in my life. I was a little nervous, a little scared, but I felt some relief because I knew all of these people were here and they were going to help me, and that finally I was getting the care that I needed after being pushed to the side for 45 minutes in the other hospital. So multiple, I want to say maybe 2-3 hours I was there that night, and they ran tests and stuff like that, and the doctors, they really didn't know exactly what was going on, but the doctor who had diagnosed me had came in because he was on call, and was talking to me, and he was trying to figure out what was going on, and I was just explaining to him what I had experienced and stuff like that. And he said that there was no real signs of anything major happening. He said, but he wanted to keep me for observation so that they could watch and see if something had happened and maybe it was over with by the time I got to them, and to see if it would recur again. So it was another Friday. So I spent the weekend. The weekend was quiet. It wasn't much. I didn't notice nothing that I noticed going on. I didn't experience any more chest pain or anything like that. So Monday morning, doctor comes in and he's doing rounds, and he checks on me, and he explains to me that, what they seen over the weekend was that there was nothing really going on. So out of concern, he had said to me that in upstate New York, we weren't equipped to do what he wanted, the next step that he wanted to take. So he was going to transfer me to Westchester Medical Center, where he would come, and with their team down there, he would be able to perform cardiac catheterization and get a closer look, a better look from inside at the heart.
Question. Before you continue, and I apologize, but I think that a lot of viewers would be listening and saying, hey, ironically, when you first had your first diagnosis, so to speak, was in Goshen. You had your birthday, you had the chest pains, you decided to go to a different hospital where they really didn't take care of you, but you end back in the original hospital. So now they must have, if I'm correct, did they have the same information already that you had? You had taken the miracle pills. By any chance, was that the same doctor that saw you? Or
absolutely. It was the same exact doctor who diagnosed me.
Hey, well, that's amazing.
Yeah. So now they transfer me. So I'm in Westchester. I'm there for the remainder of the day. The next morning, I get into a room, and my doctor comes in, and he explains to me what's to come. So he says, in a few hours, they'll prep me, and they'll take me into a room where they're going to perform cardiac catheterization, which I had no clue what that even meant. So he explained where they were going to go through my groin, and they were going to send up a wire or a camera, so to speak, and they would look, and they would be able to take notes on the pressures, on how the output the heart was, the intake it was taking, and stuff like that, so that they could then see exactly how well it was functioning versus using just ultrasound, so to speak. Uh,
Have you ever had procedures at all before
no,
this? So this would
no,
basically be your first actual
uh,
to you major surgery or minor surgery, somewhat.
absolutely.
Where's your
I,
mindset at this point?
prior to that, the only thing I'd ever had was maybe a couple shots, vaccines and stuff like that. Um, Now I was nervous because I didn't know what was to come, and I've seen a lot of TV shows and stuff like that. So now in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I don't want to go into this room and not come out. I
Right.
have a little boy at home. I haven't seen him in 3 days as it is. So I was a little nervous, a little
Okay.
scared. Um, they performed a procedure. When my doctor was done performing the procedure, he leaned down next to me and said that everything looked to be as he expected, but there were a few things that drew some concern, and he wanted to have one of the doctors from their medical team, their cardiac team, to do a biopsy on the heart so that they could get even more answers. And he was basically asking me for my consent. At which point I said, "Hey, I'm here, right? Why not? Let's go for it. Let's figure this thing out." So the doctor came in. He introduced himself, um, and got right to it. Procedure total with the catheterization down to the biopsy. I want to say I was in there maybe hour and a half, 2 hours. Um, I wasn't out, just some light sedation to keep me, not feeling any pain or anything like that. So 2 hours later, 2.5 hours later, I'm back in my room with the wife and some family. I'm laying there. The doctors come in, and they said that the heart was severely damaged and that they wanted to call in another specialist. This specialist was a doctor from Newburgh, St. Luke's, who would come to Westchester and perform certain procedures. So they wanted to call him in to input a defibrillator into my chest. At which point, I drew then a lot of concern. What is that? Why do I need it? What's it gonna do? Can I live with it? How long am I gonna live? So there was a lot of questions when they told me about that. Um, so basically, they broke it down to me. The defibrillator that they were going to input in my chest was just a micro size of a regular defibrillator they would use to shock somebody if they were having an arrhythmia or they coded in that nature. So it would go just under the skin in my chest, and there would be two wires that ran from it to my heart. They explained that what it would do is it would shock the heart if needed. There was two types of shock. So if the heart had went off rhythm just a little bit, it would send a minor shock that would zap the heart and say, "Hey, listen, boop, start beating correctly," and just to get it back on track. Um, and if in more serious cases the heart stopped for any reason or something like that, it would send a bigger shock. Uh, at which point I was like, okay, I really have no other options. Let's go for it. Like, I mean, I don't want to die. I have a infant son at home. I want to get home to my kid. I love my son. I miss my son. He was my first. He was my only at that time. So I just wanted to get back home. So I'm all in. Let's do it. So they scheduled the procedure. It was for 2 days later. So 2 days goes by. I'm relaxing in the hospital, spending some time with family and friends and stuff like that. Now, day of, no eating, stuff like that. I go, the doctor comes in. He introduces himself. Um, I don't know. Should I mention names?
Well, you know what? It's a great question, and we're not going to edit this piece because we haven't spoken with the doctors. We're going to just say it's a heart doctor because we
Yeah,
haven't
that's
got
why
the
I'm.
permissions. No, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. And this is what I love about our show. We don't edit when it comes to stuff like this because this is on the fly, and we don't want to ruin the take. So yes, let's just go with the doctor for now. The specialist, we'll call him.
Okay.
Great idea.
So he comes in, he introduces himself, gives me a little back history on who he is and what he does and how long he's been in the field and stuff like that. Um, we have a brief conversation. I'm comfortable. I have faith in this doctor that he's got my best interests at hand and he knows what he's talking about and I'm going to be okay. And that was all that I needed to say, yes, let's do it. Let's go for it. We go in. I don't say goodbye because I've never been a big fan of saying goodbye. I think goodbye is for your last time, the last time you're going to see somebody. So I, you know, give my family a kiss and say, I'll see you in a little while. See you later or whatever. Um, they wheel me out of my room and down to an OR where they wheel me in and the nurses put me on the table and they're handling me with the best care ever. I mean, the nurses, I still see some of these nurses to this day. And as soon as they see my face, they jump with joy. They hug me, they kiss me, they ask about my son and stuff like that. Um, I get on this table, they hook me up to all the IVs and all the monitors and stuff like that. And the anesthesiologist comes in, introduces himself, tells me a little bit about what he's going to do, sits down by my head, and he asks me, "What's my favorite drink?" And I told him, "I'm a Hennessy type of guy." He says, "I'm going to make it a double." And before I knew it, that was it. I was in La La Land.
So if Hennessy would like to sponsor this, we'll welcome it. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Again, like I said, before I knew it, I was out. La La Land, dinosaurs and teddy bears. It was sweet dreams. Next thing I know, I wake up. I don't know how long it's been. To me, it's about like minutes. You know what I mean? I wake up and I'm not in the same room that I was in when I left. I'm in an ICU room now, or CCU. I get the two confused. I know what they stand for, but I don't know which one's worse than the other. Um, and I've got a lot more wires and machines and stuff like that. And I'm looking around and there's more doctors and nurses, and I don't see no family yet. And finally, probably about 20 minutes goes by, and they finish doing what they're doing, and I get some family to come in. And they explain to me that the procedure itself was only supposed to take 45 minutes. I was in the procedure for over 11 hours.
11 hours for a
Yeah.
45-minute procedure. Can you
Yeah.
answer? You're probably going to get to why that is. But
Oh,
before you do that, when your family came into the room, could you notice a difference? Like you were about to be told something, and
Absolutely.
and before you went into the surgery, I didn't want to cut you off because you were rolling there, but you brought this up. You brought up before you went in that you had faith in the doctor, the specialist. So as a Have Faith Let It Begin podcaster, I have to stop you and ask you, where is your faith at that point? Were you a spiritual person? Were you a person that believed in prayer? Where was Clinton's faith at that moment?
So we're gonna get on if we're gonna get to that subject.
Just a brief,
Yeah.
yeah.
So at that point in my life, a lot had went on previous, which had changed my faith. I grew up going to church and stuff like that. There was a lot of things that had went on that had changed it, and I had lost a lot of faith. But I had always, at that point in my life, I always told people that there's a power out there. There's a higher power. What it is, I don't know anymore. But I know that something is out there and something is watching over me because I've made it this far.
That's perfect.
So
That's a perfect answer. And we're going to get into that because I'm sure that there's a reason for that. And we'll make sure to Have Faith Let It Begin and Endless Hope people we'll make an episode out of that. And I don't want you to go off topic. I'm sorry that I put you in that position, but
no, you're good.
I brought up the faith part because I know people would ask. So we're going to hold on that and we'll cut into that. But let's go into what I cut you off at. You woke up, what was supposed to be a 45-minute procedure is now an 11-hour procedure.
Absolutely. Yeah, so you had asked if when my family and wife at the time, my girlfriend, had walked into the room, if I could see that something was going on. Yes. The look on their face was a look of relief and fear all in one. Um, at that point, they struggled to tell me. I mean, it wasn't until just a few years ago I learned the exact whole truth about it, and they gave me bits and pieces, and they just told me at that point that it took a little bit longer than it was supposed to, and because some things had happened. I think they were afraid to tell me the whole truth because at that point I feared that they knew more than I did at that point in time. Like they knew something that I didn't know, and like something was going to happen or happened that was going to change my life forever, and didn't know how or didn't want to tell me because of fear.
And that is where we leave you with another episode. What happened? Where did we leave Clinton? What took 11 hours? If you're joining us on the journey, of course, you're mad at Angel, and it's okay. I'm stopping the episode yet again because we want you to tell your friends, your families about this amazing journey. When we return, it'll be another episode, and we will pick up right where we left off. What happened after that 45-minute procedure actually became 11 hours. We leave you from Have Faith, Let It Begin podcast in collab with Endless Hope Inc. As we state, as always, fueling hope, one life at a time. Follow your hearts and your dreams, and be true to yourself. We'll see you next week.
Hey, Have Faith family. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. Visit our website, havefaithletitbegin.com. We would love to hear your feedback.